So let me start with this. Just because you created a Google form and just because people answered your questions does not mean you use the survey method correctly. In fact, many undergraduate projects that claim to use survey research are actually weak, not because survey is bad, but because the method is poorly executed. So in this particular video, I'll break down what survey method really is, the types, the tool, the correct procedure, and when to use it, and the advantages and limitations of it. So by the end of this particular video, you should be able to confidently say whether you are actually using survey research or you've been guessing your way through it. Welcome to the Method Mastery series, where research method finally makes sense. Today, we are going deep into one of the most popular methods you see in every undergraduate research and one of the most misunderstood research, which is the survey research method. You see, a survey research method is a quantitative research approach used to collect standardized data from a group of people called a sample in order to describe, compare, or explain certain phenomena. So let me break it down carefully. Quantitative means the data is numerical and can be analyzed statistically. Standardized means every respondent is answering the same set of questions. Sample means you are not studying everyone, just a selected group that represents a larger population. So the purpose of survey research is typically to measure opinions, which can be student satisfaction, to assess behaviors, which can be study habits, or examine relationships, for instance, time spent studying versus academic performance or CGPA. Now, here's the key idea. Survey research is not just about asking questions. It's about asking the right questions in a structured way so that the responses can be analyzed and generalized. For example, if you ask 100 students about their preferred learning method using the same structured questionnaire, you can summarize patterns and draw conclusions about the larger student population. That is what makes survey a powerful research method. Let's talk about the types of surveys. Survey can be classified in several important ways. Number one on the list is based on the time dimension. We have cross-sectional survey. Data is collected at one point in time, and this is common among undergraduates. For example, you want to sample the opinion of students for a particular semester. Then we have longitudinal survey. You collect data over a period of time. For instance, you want to examine students' performance from year 1 to year 4. Another type is based on the mode of administration. We have the online survey where you use Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, and this is relatively cheap and it is widely used. The second one is paper-based survey. This is you using physical questionnaires, and it is very, very useful when people you are talking to are illiterate or there is no internet access. Then we have interviewer-administered survey. This is face-to-face or phone-based, and there is higher responses accuracy, which is more time-consuming. Another type of survey is by purpose. We have descriptive survey. This is used to describe a particular situation, for example, study habit of students. Then we have analytical or correlational survey. This examine relationships between variables. For example, study time versus CGPA. So understanding these types will help you position your work correctly in your methodology chapter. The main instrument used in survey research is the questionnaire. Now, this is where many students make critical mistakes. A questionnaire is not just a list of random questions. It is a carefully designed data collection instrument, and there are different types of questions you can include in your questionnaire. One, we have close-ended questions. These are structured and easy to analyze. For example, yes or no question, multiple choice, rating scales. Number two is the Likert scale questions. This is used to measure attitude or opinions. For example, the strongly agree, agree neutral, disagree, strongly disagree questions that we have. This is very, very common in undergraduate research as well. Then we have the open-ended questions. These allow respondents to explain their answers, but too many of these can actually make analysis very, very difficult for you. So note that every question in your questionnaire must connect directly to your research objective. If your objective is to examine the relationship between study time and CGPA, your question must collect data on study time. your question, must collect data on GPA. Anything outside that is noise. So your mode of administration too, which is using online, using paper-based or interviewer administered. Each of these has its pros and limitations, but online survey is the most common type of questionnaire. So if you want to use survey research properly, follow this particular structure. Step, define your research objective. Everything starts here. What exactly are you trying to find out? If your objective is unclear, your entire survey is going to collapse. Step two is identify your population. Who are you studying? For example, undergraduate students, small business owners, residents in a particular area. So your population defines your scope. Step three, determine your sample. You usually cannot study everyone, so you collect a subset called a sample. This should be representative, adequate in size, and the common technique you can use to select your sample is random sampling, stratified sampling, multi-stage, and even convenience sampling. So step four is design the questionnaire. This is the most technical step. Ensure that your questions are clear and simple. No ambiguity, no questions that is going to lead your respondent on. So there should also be logical flow from one question to another. For example, do you asking a respondent that do you think online learning is ineffective is a biased question. However, you can ask questions like, how would you rate the effectiveness of online learning? Step five, pilot testing. This is very, very important. Before distributing widely, test your questionnaire with a small group that is similar to your sample. This is going to help you identify confusing questions, technical issues, timing problems, and skipping this step is one of the biggest mistakes undergraduate students make. Step six is data collection. Now you go ahead to distribute your survey. At this stage, ensure good response rates, follow up if necessary, and avoid incomplete responses. Step seven is data analysis. This is where your data becomes meaningful. You can use percentages, charts, and graphs, statistical tests, depending on your study. So if your data is poorly collected, analysis will be very, very weak, no matter how good your tools are. So you can apply survey research in different ways. We have the descriptive application where you describe situation. We have the correlational application, which is used to examine relationships. Then we have the comparative application, which is used to compare groups. This flexibility is why survey is mostly used, is widely used. So survey research has several strengths. Number one is it allows large data collection. Two, it is relatively cost effective. Three is it produces quantifiable data. Four is it supports generalization, and that is why it is dominant in undergraduate research. But it also has its own weaknesses, which is responses may not be truthful, limited depth of information, poor design is going to lead to poor data, low response rates can distort your findings. So it is simple, but not necessarily easy. So let's gather all of this together now. Survey research is a structured quantitative method using questionnaire to collect standardized data from a sample for a statistical analysis. So if your project does not follow this structure, then you are not truly using survey research. That is it for today's method mastery series. If you learned something from this, you are one step closer to mastering your research methods. See you next time.